The red numbers on the clock read 2:13 a.m. when Ethan slipped into the bedroom. I kept my breathing slow and even one hand tucked beneath the pillow, the other resting under the blanket. He stood beside the bed for several seconds watching me, then stepped into the hallway and answered his phone in a whisper. She still thinks it's just refinancing. A woman's voice murmured something I could not make out. Ethan lowered his voice further. Just wait until she signs. After that, the house won't be a problem. My eyes stayed closed, but beneath the blanket, my hands had begun to shake. 3 weeks earlier, I still believed the greatest danger to our marriage was distance. Ethan and I had been married 22 years. Not the kind of marriage people envied from across a restaurant, perhaps, but a steady one. We had survived job changes, 2 miscarriages, my mother's cancer, Ethan's father's bankruptcy, and the long, exhausted years when our daughter Lily refused to sleep anywhere except between us. We lived outside Charlotte in a cream-colored colonial with black shutters and a magnolia tree that dropped waxy leaves across the front walk. The house was worth around $685,000 now, though I still remembered when it was an aging property with cracked tile, bad plumbing, and wallpaper printed with tiny blue ducks. My mother's inheritance had changed that. When she died, she left me $310,000. I used most of it for the down payment and renovations. The deed had remained in my name because the money was legally mine before it became part of our home. At the time, Ethan had kissed my forehead and said, "Your mom gave us a future." I believed him. At 48, I worked part-time as an interior designer, mostly helping clients renovate kitchens in older homes. Before Lily was born, I had managed full commercial projects. Afterward, I scaled back because Ethan's real estate business was growing, and someone had to manage school schedules, doctors' meals, and the 1,000 invisible tasks that kept our life from collapsing. Ethan handled investments and taxes. I handled everything else. For years, that division felt practical. Lately, it had begun to feel dangerous. Commercial real estate had slowed, though Ethan avoided admitting how badly. He came home later, took calls in the garage, and began using words like restructuring liquidity and temporary exposure. One evening in September, while I was slicing tomatoes at the kitchen island, he placed a blue folder beside my cutting board. "We should refinance the house." The knife stopped against the wood. "Why? Rates may shift again. We could access some dead equity while the valuation is strong." "Our equity isn't dead." He laughed lightly. "You know what I mean. I don't want another mortgage. It wouldn't be a traditional mortgage, more like a flexible line." "For what?" "Business stability, Lily's college, emergency reserves." He said Lily's name last because he knew it would reach me. Our daughter was 18 and applying to schools in North Carolina, Virginia, and one painfully expensive private university in Boston. Every acceptance portal, financial aid form, and tuition calculator had become its own quiet source of dread. "We already have a college account," I said. "It won't cover everything." "Then she chooses a school we can afford." Ethan's expression tightened. "You really want money deciding her future?" "Money decides everyone's future eventually." He closed the folder. "This is why I handle the financial side." The sentence was delivered calmly, almost affectionately, but it stayed with me. Over the following days, he brought up refinancing repeatedly, at breakfast, in the car, while we brushed our teeth. Each time he added another benefit: tax efficiency, asset protection, better estate planning. Finally, he mentioned Vanessa Cole. "She's helping me restructure some things." "Who is Vanessa?" "A consultant. She specializes in distressed commercial portfolios." He said her name too easily, as though he had practiced making it sound ordinary. "She's very sharp," he added. "She thinks we should move the house into a family holding company." I looked up from folding towels. "What company?" "Just an LLC. It keeps everything cleaner." "Cleaner for whom?" He smiled. "For us." After that, I began noticing small things. A new cologne, a second phone charger in his car, the way he carried his phone from room to room, even when he showered. None of it proved anything. Marriage teaches you how dangerous imagination can become once suspicion enters the room. I told myself Ethan was under pressure. I told myself business problems made people secretive. I told myself that after 22 years, trust should not be destroyed by a locked screen and a new shirt. Then came the blue folder. He brought it home on a Tuesday and placed it inside his briefcase. "The lender should have final papers soon," he said. "What exactly am I signing?" Mostly estate and refinancing cleanup. Mostly, Claire, it's routine. My name sounded like an inconvenience in his mouth. I waited until he went upstairs, then opened the briefcase. The folder was gone. I searched the desk, the filing cabinet, and the drawer where he kept old contracts. Nothing. When Ethan returned downstairs, he found me standing beside the kitchen sink, looking for something. My reading glasses. They were on top of my head. His eyes lifted to them. Neither of us mentioned it. The night I heard the phone call, he had told me he was meeting a client for drinks. At midnight, I texted asking when he would be home. No answer. At 1:46, I turned off my bedside lamp. At 2:11, the garage door opened. I had no plan to pretend I was asleep. I simply did not want another soft lie delivered to my face. So when he entered the bedroom, I remained still. After the whispered call, he returned to bed and lay beside me. The mattress dipped under his weight. He smelled of rain whiskey and a faint floral perfume that was not mine. Within minutes, his breathing deepened. Mine did not. I stared into the darkness until the clock changed from 2:13 to 2:14, then 2:15, then 3:02. At 4:30, I slipped from bed and went downstairs. The house felt unfamiliar in the pre-dawn silence. The refrigerator hummed. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Lily's college brochures lay in a neat stack beside a bowl of apples. I opened my laptop and searched one word I had heard Ethan use during the call: quitclaim. The definition appeared immediately: a legal document used to transfer ownership interest in property. I read it twice. Then I searched Family Holding Company Home Equity Authorization Personal Guarantee. By 6 o'clock, the sky beyond the kitchen windows had turned pale gray. Ethan came downstairs at 6:20 wearing sweatpants and the expression of a man who believed he had slept beside an unsuspecting wife. "Morning," he said, kissing my hair. "Morning." He poured coffee. "The papers should be ready Friday." I wrapped both hands around my mug so he would not see them tremble. "Good," I said. "I'll be ready." He smiled. By sunrise, I knew two things. My husband expected me to sign something, and whatever happened afterward required me not to understand it. The next morning, Ethan behaved as if nothing had changed. He stood at the stove, making eggs humming under his breath, while sunlight spread across the kitchen floor. Lily sat at the island in pajama pants, scrolling through college emails with one hand and eating toast with the other. "Boston sent another financial aid form," she said. Ethan glanced over his shoulder. "We'll handle it." I watched him slide eggs onto 3 plates. His movements were relaxed, familiar. The same hands that had fixed Lily's bike chain fastened my mother's pearls around my neck on our anniversary and reached for me in the dark after bad dreams were now preparing documents designed to take my home. That was the part I could not fit together. Cruelty would have been easier if he had looked cruel. Instead, he placed a plate in front of me and smiled. "Sleep okay." "Not really. You should have woken me." I lowered my eyes to the eggs. "You got home late." Client drinks ran long. Vanessa. The fork in his hand paused for less than a second. She was there, yes, along with 3 other people. Lily looked between us. "Who's Vanessa?" A consultant, Ethan said quickly. "She's helping Dad with some business things." He reached for the coffee pot. "The documents should arrive this afternoon. We can review them Friday night." I let the word review pass without correction. He did not mean review. He meant sign. After Ethan left for work, I drove to Paula's house. She had been my closest friend for 15 years, since Lily and her youngest son attended the same preschool. Paula was a nurse, divorced, and incapable of pretending not to understand something once it was in front of her. She opened the door in navy scrubs and took one look at my face. What happened? Her kitchen smelled of cinnamon coffee and toast. A basket of unfolded laundry sat on one chair, and a half-packed lunch rested beside the sink. I told her everything. The clock. The phone call. The missing folder. The word quitclaim. Paula listened without interrupting, one hand wrapped around her mug. When I finished, she said, "Do not sign anything." I wasn't planning to. I mean nothing. Not even if he says it's a receipt. I gave a weak laugh. She did not. "I know someone," she said. "Megan Ruiz. Family law, estate planning, property disputes. She helped my sister after her husband emptied a joint account. I'm not ready to talk about divorce." "You don't have to be. You are ready to understand what those papers do." Megan saw me that afternoon. Her office was on the 2nd floor of a renovated brick building near downtown Charlotte. The waiting room smelled faintly of leather and lemon polish. No inspirational slogans, no soothing fountain, just clean lines, framed degrees, and a receptionist who did not ask questions. Megan was 50, with dark hair streaked silver at the temples and a voice that never rushed. She listened carefully, then asked the question I had been avoiding. Whose name is on the deed? Mine. Only yours? Yes. How was the property purchased? Mostly with an inheritance from my mother, $310,000. The rest came from savings and a small loan we paid off years ago. Do you have records? I think so. Find them. She leaned back. A quitclaim deed could transfer your interest in the house. An LLC might be perfectly legitimate, or it might give someone else practical control. A home equity line could expose the property to debt. A personal guarantee could make you responsible for obligations you never created. I felt my stomach tighten. He said it was refinancing. Then he should have no objection to independent review. What if he does? Megan held my gaze. Then the objection matters more than the papers. She made me a list. Original deed, inheritance documents, bank statements showing the transfer from my mother's estate, renovation invoices, mortgage payoff, tax records, any emails from Ethan about the proposed transaction. Do not access accounts that are solely his, she said. Do not guess passwords. Do not secretly take records you have no legal right to see. I understand. But anything jointly held sent to the home or stored on shared devices may be relevant. When I left, the afternoon had turned bright and cold. Traffic moved slowly along Tryon Street, sunlight flashing against windshields. I felt frightened. But fear with instructions is different from fear without them. That evening, I searched the hall closet where I kept my mother's estate files. The cardboard box still carried her handwriting. Claire, important papers. Inside were the probate order bank statements and the cashier's check used for the house. I found receipts for the roof kitchen and foundation work. Every major renovation had been paid from the inheritance account. At the bottom was the original deed, my name alone. I sat on the floor with the papers spread around me and remembered my mother standing in the unfinished kitchen 20 years earlier. This house should always give you somewhere to stand, she had said. I had thought she meant emotionally. Now I understood she had also meant legally. The next clue came from our home printer. Ethan had printed something that morning and left one page trapped in the output tray. At the top were the words, Quitclaim Deed, Grantor Claire Bennett, Grantee Bennett Property Holdings, LLC. I photographed every page. Then I sent the images to Megan. Her response arrived 10 minutes later. Do not confront him. I'm checking the entity now. She called shortly after 9. Ethan formed the LLC 6 weeks ago. I gripped the phone. Who owns it? Ownership is not fully listed in the public filing, but he is the managing member and the registered agent. Megan paused. Vanessa Cole. For a moment, I heard only the faint tick of the clock in the hallway. I wanted there to be an innocent explanation. Vanessa was a consultant. Consultants filed paperwork. Consultants served as agents. That was possible. Possible had become the word I used whenever truth came too close. The final document package arrived by email the following morning. Ethan forwarded it with a cheerful message. Nothing complicated. We'll sign Friday. Megan reviewed it first. The package included the quitclaim deed, a $325,000 home equity authorization, a personal guarantee, broad financial power of attorney, and an operating agreement giving Ethan control over the LLC. The loan proceeds could be used for business stabilization and related investment activity. No limit, no separate college account, no protection for Lily, no restriction preventing the money from leaving Ethan's business entirely. Megan called me after lunch. This is not refinancing. What is it? Asset transfer. The words were simple. That made them worse. My phone rang while we were still speaking. Ethan, I answered. Hey, he said. Did you see the documents? Yes. Good. The lender may need a copy of your passport. Do you know where it is? I looked at the drawer where it had been stored for years. I'll look tonight. It was the first direct lie I had told my husband in 22 years. After I hung up, Megan said, freeze your credit. I did. Then I changed the passwords to every account that belonged to me. By the time Ethan came home, dinner was in the oven and the house smelled of garlic and rosemary. He kissed my cheek. Everything okay? I smiled. Fine. He believed me. Ethan had told me the papers would protect our family. In reality, they protected everyone except me. For the next 3 days, I watched Ethan more carefully. Not dramatically. I did not follow him, search his pockets, or confront him with the documents. I simply stopped looking away. Once suspicion has a name, ordinary behavior changes shape. A phone turned face down becomes a decision. A late meeting becomes a location. A smile at a screen becomes a private room you are not allowed to enter. Ethan had always dressed well for work, but now he spent longer choosing shirts. He bought a charcoal jacket I had never seen him wear to the office. On Thursday morning, he stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his collar while I watched from the bed. Big meeting, I asked. Potential investor. With Vanessa. His eyes met mine in the mirror. She'll be there. He said it casually, but his hand remained at his collar too long. At breakfast, Lily pushed cereal around her bowl. Are you coming to the college information night? She asked him. Ethan glanced at his phone. What night? Tuesday. I'll try. You said that last time. I have a lot going on right now. Lily looked at me. I gave her a small smile, but I could feel something in her withdrawing. After Ethan left, she carried her bowl to the sink. Is Dad in trouble? The question stopped me. What kind of trouble? Money trouble, or you trouble? She tried to make it sound light. It did not. Your father is under pressure at work. That wasn't an answer. At 18, Lily had inherited my patience and Ethan's ability to detect avoidance. I dried my hands on a dish towel. There are things I'm trying to understand. Is he leaving? My chest tightened. I don't know. She looked toward the driveway, though Ethan's car was already gone. Please don't lie to me just because you think I'm a kid. I won't. That was all I could promise. The first clear sign came from a credit card statement. The account was joint, though Ethan handled most payments. I logged in because Megan had told me to review anything I legally shared. There were repeated charges from the same downtown parking garage. Thursday evenings, Tuesday afternoons, one Saturday when Ethan had told me he was at a property inspection near Gastonia. There were also restaurant charges. Not fast lunches, long dinners, wine, dessert. A hotel charge from a conference in Asheville Ethan had claimed was canceled. I remembered that weekend. He had packed a bag anyway, saying the client wanted him in Raleigh instead. The hotel receipt included room service for 2. I closed the laptop and pressed both palms flat against the desk. The room was warm, but my fingers had gone cold. I called Paula. Can you meet me? She heard my voice and did not ask why. We sat in the corner of a bakery near her hospital. The air smelled of butter, coffee, and cinnamon. A woman at the next table laughed into her phone while I showed Paula the statement. She read it slowly. This is enough for you to ask him directly. Not yet. Claire. I need to know if Vanessa is part of the financial plan or part of everything. Paula looked at me over the rim of her cup. You already know. I know what it looks like. That is not the same thing. It is when you are about to break 22 years in half. She reached across the table. You are not breaking it. The words lodged somewhere beneath my ribs. That evening, Ethan said he had another client dinner. He wore the charcoal jacket. At 7:10, I left the house too. I told Lily I was meeting Paula. That part was true. Paula followed me in her car not because I asked her to spy, but because she refused to let me sit alone if I found what I expected. The downtown restaurant had tall windows and low amber lighting. Ethan's car was parked in the garage across the street. We waited. At 8:23, he emerged with Vanessa. I knew her immediately from the company website. Dark hair, cream coat, polished posture. She was not carrying a briefcase. Ethan touched the small of her back as they crossed the sidewalk. They stopped beneath the awning. Vanessa said something that made him laugh. Then he kissed her. Not hurriedly, not like a mistake, like a man arriving somewhere familiar. My stomach turned so sharply I opened the car door, afraid I might be sick. Paula put one hand between my shoulder blades. Breathe. I stared at the wet pavement beneath my shoes. Cars hissed past on the street. Someone opened the restaurant door, releasing a burst of warm air and music. I had imagined this moment before. In every version I confronted him. I crossed the street. I said her name. I made him look at me. Instead, I closed the car door and wrote the time in my phone. 8:23 p.m., October 17th. That was what Megan had told me to do. Document. Do not react. Do not give away what you know. At home, Ethan arrived after 11. "How was Paula?" he asked. "Fine. Dinner ran late," I figured. He kissed my forehead. I did not move away. The next morning, I found the messages. An old tablet sat in a kitchen drawer, still synced to Ethan's account because he had once used it for property presentations. When I turned it on, notifications appeared. "Vanessa, once the equity closes, we can stop hiding. Ethan, she'll sign. She trusts me with everything. Vanessa, and after, Ethan, I file after Lily graduates. No reason to blow up the house before then." Another message followed. "The condo application needs final numbers by Monday." I read the thread twice. Then I photographed the screen and called Megan. She listened without interrupting. "Do not forward anything from his private account," she said. "Photograph what appeared on a shared device and preserve the tablet." "Is that enough?" "It is enough to advise caution. We will use only what is legally appropriate." I sat at the kitchen table staring at Ethan's words. He planned to keep pretending until Lily graduated. He wanted the appearance of a family while extracting the value from our home. Then he intended to leave, not impulsively, not because love had confused him, according to a schedule. That afternoon, I opened an individual checking account and redirected my design income. Megan updated my will, medical directive, and financial power of attorney. A title company confirmed the deed remained solely in my name. An appraiser valued the house at $687,500. For the first time in years, I knew exactly what I owned. Ethan came home Friday carrying flowers. "Vanessa is coming Saturday," he said. "She'll explain the documents." He placed the bouquet on the counter. I arranged the stems in water and smiled. "Of course." He relaxed. "I knew you'd understand." I touched one white rose, its petals cool against my fingers. "I want to understand everything before I sign." My husband thought trust had made me easy to deceive. He did not yet understand that once trust dies, attention takes its place. Vanessa arrived Saturday at 11 carrying a slim leather portfolio and a smile that belonged in a bank advertisement. She wore a camel coat over a navy dress, pearl earrings, and heels too delicate for our cracked front walk. Ethan opened the door before she could ring twice. "Come in," he said, warmer than he had sounded with me all week. Vanessa stepped inside and touched his arm, only briefly, but not professionally. I stood near the dining table with 3 cups of coffee already poured. "Claire," she said, crossing the room, "it's so good to finally meet you." Finally, as though I had been the last person required for a project already underway. "You too." Her handshake was firm. Her perfume was the same faint floral scent I had noticed on Ethan's shirt. For 1 second, nausea rose in my throat. I swallowed it. The blue folder waited in the center of the table. Ethan pulled out a chair for Vanessa, then sat beside her. I took the seat across from them. "We're going to keep this simple," Vanessa said. "The goal is to protect your family assets, improve liquidity, and make the house work for you." "The house already works for me," I said. She smiled patiently. "I understand, but property can be emotionally valuable and financially inefficient." Ethan leaned forward. "This is what I've been trying to explain." I opened the folder. Yellow signature tabs marked 6 pages. "Why does the house need to go into an LLC?" Vanessa clasped her hands. "It creates flexibility." "For whom?" "For the family." "Who controls the LLC?" Ethan answered. "I do administratively." I looked at Vanessa. "And you're the registered agent." She did not blink. "That is a standard professional arrangement." "Does that give you authority over the property?" "No, it means I receive legal and state correspondence." "Can Ethan borrow against the house after the transfer?" A pause. "Not long. Long enough." "With the appropriate approvals," she said. "Whose approval?" Ethan's chair creaked as he shifted. "Claire, this isn't an interrogation. I'm trying to understand." "You said you wanted an explanation," he replied. "I do." Vanessa opened the operating agreement and turned it toward me. The LLC would hold title. Ethan would manage operations. You would retain an economic interest. "What percentage?" "The initial structure is still adjustable." "What percentage is written here?" Her smile thinned. 49. And Ethan, 51. I looked at him. He spread his hands. "Someone has to have decision-making authority. In the house purchased with my inheritance." "Our house," he said. The words came quickly, almost offended. I kept my voice calm. "Then why am I the minority member?" Vanessa stepped in. "Because lenders prefer clear management. It does not mean you lose your interest. Can the LLC take out the $325,000 loan without my future signature? Neither of them answered immediately. I turned another page. The personal guarantee carried my name. If the business fails, who is responsible for repayment? All guarantors share responsibility, Vanessa said. Even if I receive none of the business income, Ethan exhaled sharply. You're focusing on worst-case scenarios. Contracts exist for worst-case scenarios. Lily entered halfway through the conversation wearing jeans and a college sweatshirt. She stopped near the doorway. Am I interrupting? No, Ethan said. We're discussing how to protect your tuition. Lily looked at the papers. With the house. It's more complicated than that, he said. I turned to Vanessa. Where is the college account in these documents? It would be funded from available proceeds. Which page guarantees that? Vanessa's eyes moved to Ethan. There was no page. Lily noticed. She looked at me, then at her father. I thought my college fund already existed. It does, I said. Ethan's voice hardened. It may not be enough. Then I'll choose somewhere affordable, Lily said. He stared at her. This is an adult conversation. It has my name in it. The room went quiet. I wanted to reach for her, but I did not want her to feel she needed to stay and defend me. Go finish your applications, I said gently. We'll talk later. She hesitated, then left. Vanessa gathered the papers into a neat stack. I think the concern here is emotional rather than financial. I looked at her. What emotion do you think I'm having? Fear, which is understandable. Is caution fear? It can become fear when it prevents rational planning. Ethan nodded. Exactly. Their agreement was too smooth, too practiced. I closed the folder. I need more time. Ethan's hand flattened against the table. The rate expires Monday. Then perhaps we should not rush into a $325,000 obligation. This is not rushing. We've been discussing it for weeks. You have. I've been listening. His jaw tightened. Vanessa stood. Why don't I give you both some space? Ethan rose with her. I'll walk you out. At the door, she touched his sleeve. Again, too familiar. Then she left. Ethan returned to the dining room and remained standing. You embarrassed me. I asked questions. You made Vanessa sound dishonest. I asked what the documents did. You don't understand business. There it was. Not concern. Contempt. You never have, he continued. You decorate rooms. I manage risk. I built the equity you're trying to borrow. Your mother left you money to build a life, not let it sit in the walls. The sentence struck with more force than if he had shouted. My mother had spent 40 years teaching elementary school. She saved every spare dollar so I would never be trapped. Ethan knew that. He had used her memory because he thought it would weaken me. Instead, something inside me settled. I'll sign Monday, I said. He stared. What? If we have dinner first? Just us. No pressure, no fighting. Suspicion flickered across his face, then relief. He stepped closer and put his hands on my shoulders. I knew you'd come around. I let him kiss my forehead. That night, after he believed I was asleep, he went downstairs. I stood in the hallway above the kitchen, hidden by darkness. His voice carried upward. She thinks the dinner is about us. A pause. Then he laughed softly. Once she signs, we close on the condo. I returned to the bedroom and wrote down every word along with the time. The next morning, Megan prepared a written refusal, a notice revoking any implied financial authority, and an emergency request restricting transfers from our joint accounts. Then she called. Claire, there's another issue. What? $64,000 left your joint investment account 6 weeks ago. I sat down. Where did it go? To Ethan's business. I closed my eyes. The money had not only been planned, it had already started moving. That afternoon, Lily found me in the laundry room holding one of Ethan's shirts without folding it. Mom. I looked up. Whatever is happening, she said, please don't stay quiet just to protect me. I placed the shirt on the dryer. I thought keeping the house calm was protecting you. It isn't calm. Her voice trembled. It's just silent. I pulled her into my arms. For the first time, I understood that silence was no longer shelter. It was permission. Monday night would not be the moment I handed Ethan the house. It would be the moment I handed him the truth. Monday evening, Ethan came home carrying white roses and a bottle of Cabernet. He had changed into the charcoal jacket I had seen him wear to meet Vanessa. The flowers were wrapped in brown paper, the same kind he used to buy on anniversaries when he remembered before lunchtime. I thought we could make tonight special, he said. I took the bouquet from him. That's thoughtful. The lie came easily now, not because deception had become natural, because truth had become something I needed to protect until the right moment. Lily was staying with Paula. I had told her only that Ethan and I needed to discuss financial matters privately. She had hugged me at the front door. Call me when it's over. I will. Promise. I promise. At 7, Vanessa arrived with the final document package. She wore a black dress beneath a fitted coat and carried the same leather portfolio. Her expression was polished, but her eyes moved quickly through the room. She noticed the empty place where Lily usually sat. Just the three of us, she asked. For now, I said. Ethan poured the wine. I did not drink mine. Dinner was roast chicken potatoes and green beans. Ethan complimented everything too often. This is incredible. You always make this sauce perfectly. We should do evenings like this more. The last comment nearly made me laugh. He was already planning the condo where he would live with another woman, yet he was discussing future dinners in my kitchen. Vanessa ate carefully and kept conversation focused on business conditions. Markets are tightening, she said. Timing matters. Especially with the lender, Ethan added. I folded my napkin beside my plate. Then we should review the documents. Relief flickered across his face. We moved to the dining table. Vanessa opened the folder and arranged the pages in exact order. Yellow tabs marked every place requiring my initials or signature. She placed a pen beside my hand. Most of this is standard, she said. We can take it section by section. Ethan sat to my right, close enough to guide me, or stop me. I turned to the first page. Quitclaim deed. Yes, Vanessa said. That transfers the property into Bennett Property Holdings. I continued reading. Ethan watched my face. You don't need to study every sentence. I looked at him. It is my house. Our house. Then you should be comfortable with me reading it. His mouth tightened. Vanessa intervened. Of course, but the language is technical. So explain it. She nodded. The LLC holds title. Ethan manages the entity. You retain 49% economic interest, and 51% control belongs to Ethan. Management control, she corrected. What happens if we divorce? The question landed heavily. Ethan sat back. Why would you ask that? Because contracts are written for possibilities. Vanessa's fingers rested on the portfolio. In a marital dissolution, ownership issues would be determined under applicable law. That is not an answer. It is the accurate answer. I turned to the next page. The personal guarantee. Ethan exhaled. Claire, if the business cannot repay the loan, I am personally responsible. We are both responsible, he said. For money going into your business. Our future. I looked at Vanessa. Does any portion of the $325,000 go directly into Lily's college account? No specific allocation is written, she admitted. Does any provision prevent the money from being used for another property? Ethan's head turned sharply. What property? I opened the folder beside my chair. The one Megan had prepared. The condominium at 414 North Tryon. Vanessa's face changed first. Only slightly. But I saw it. Ethan did not speak. I slid a copy of the application across the table. Applicant Ethan Bennett. Proposed co-occupant Vanessa Cole. The room became very still. The refrigerator hummed in the kitchen. A car passed outside headlights moving briefly across the wall. Ethan picked up the page. Where did you get this? From records connected to the financing package. That does not answer my question. It answers the important one. Vanessa closed her portfolio. I think I should leave. No, I said, you should stay. She looked at Ethan. He looked away. I placed the LLC filing beside the condo application. Bennett Property Holdings was formed 6 weeks ago. Ethan is managing member. You are registered agent. That is professional work, Vanessa said. I added the appraisal request. The home equity authorization. The records showing $64,000 transferred from our joint investment account into Ethan's business. Then the photographs of the messages displayed on the shared tablet. Vanessa read the first line. Once the equity closes, we can finally stop hiding. Her face lost color. Ethan reached for the pages. I placed my hand over them. Leave them. Claire, this is not what you think. I saw you kiss her. He stopped moving. Vanessa stared at him. You said the marriage was already over. Ethan turned toward her. Not now. You said you were only waiting until Lily graduated. Vanessa, you said Claire understood. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Not because she was innocent. Because she had believed herself to be the chosen person in a plan built entirely on lies. Ethan stood. This has gotten out of control. No, I said. It has become visible. He began pacing. The business is in trouble. I was trying to stabilize it. With my house, with our equity, and the condo. He rubbed both hands over his face. That was an option. For what? A place to stay if we separated. If Vanessa stood. You told me you were filing immediately after the closing. He turned on her. Stop talking. She recoiled. Then something hard entered her expression. You lied to both of us. She picked up her coat. Ethan stepped toward her. Vanessa, wait. She looked at him with open disgust. There is no loan, there is no condo, and there is no us. The front door shut behind her. Ethan remained standing in the hallway. For several seconds he looked not angry but lost. Then he came back to the table. You set this up. Number. You acted like you were going to sign. I gave you time to tell me the truth. You trapped me. I asked questions. You kept handing me documents. His voice rose. I was trying to save everything. You were trying to save your business, your affair, and your exit. He struck the table with his palm. What was I supposed to do? Tell you I had failed. Tell Lily we might lose everything. We were not losing everything. I was. The honesty of that stopped me. For one moment I saw the man beneath the plan. Ashamed, afraid, desperate to remain successful in everyone's eyes. Then he looked at the documents and said, you could still sign. And the moment vanished. I opened the dining room door. Megan was waiting in the living room. Ethan froze. She entered carrying a legal folder. Mr. Bennett, she said, I represent Claire. He looked at me. You brought a lawyer into our home. You brought a financial consultant into it first. Megan placed several documents on the table. The lender has been notified that Claire does not consent to the property transfer or home equity transaction. Her credit is frozen. Any implied authority has been revoked. She added another set of papers. An emergency request has also been prepared regarding dissipation of marital assets, including the $64,000 transfer. Ethan stared at the stack, then at me. What is that? Separation papers. His face emptied. Claire. I signed where Megan indicated. My hand was steady. Ethan watched the pen move across the page. You're ending 22 years over one mistake. I looked at the condo application, the quitclaim deed, the messages, and the yellow tabs waiting for my name. This was not one mistake. His voice broke. I love you. No, you counted on me. He sat down heavily. What am I supposed to do now? I placed the signed petition in front of Megan. For once I said live with what you signed. He'd spent weeks waiting for my signature. In the end, the only signature that mattered was the one beneath my petition for separation. The separation did not become real when I signed the papers. It became real the following morning when Ethan stood in our bedroom packing shirts into a suitcase he had bought for business trips. The closet door remained open behind him. His suits hung in neat rows. My dresses occupied the other side untouched. For 22 years, our clothes had shared the same wooden rod. Now he moved hangers one by one, making a space where his life used to be. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. The zipper sounded too loud when he closed the suitcase. Where will you go? I asked. A hotel for now. And after, I don't know. It was the first answer he had given me in weeks that did not pretend certainty. He looked toward the bed. The digital clock still sat on the nightstand. 2:13 had become an hour I could feel in my body even when I was not looking at it. Vanessa won't answer my calls, he said. I folded my arms. I'm not the person to discuss that with. His face tightened. I know. Then after a pause, he added, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I looked at him. You formed a company. You applied for a condo. You moved money. You prepared legal documents. Which part happened by accident? He lowered his eyes. There was nothing left to say. The front door closed quietly behind him. No slammed frame. No shouted final words. Just the soft click of a man leaving the house he had tried to use as collateral. The months that followed were not dramatic. They were administrative. Bank statements, attorney meetings, property records, financial disclosures. The kinds of documents Ethan had always insisted were too complicated for me. I learned every line. His commercial business was deeper in debt than I had known. Several projects had stalled. Tax obligations had gone unpaid. The $64,000 from our joint investment account had covered payroll, overdue interest, and one emergency payment to prevent a lender from filing suit. He had not used that money to buy the condo. Not yet. That mattered legally. It did not repair the betrayal. Megan negotiated a temporary financial order. Ethan was required to provide full business records, stop moving marital funds, and account for every transfer. The home remained in my name. Because my inheritance had funded most of the purchase and renovations, the property was treated primarily as my separate asset, though the final settlement still required consideration of marital contributions. Real law was less satisfying than revenge stories. Nothing belonged entirely to one person simply because it felt morally obvious. But the house was protected. Lily's college account was protected. And the $64,000 became part of the settlement calculation rather than disappearing into Ethan's failures. Vanessa ended their relationship within a week. Paula told me after hearing it from a mutual acquaintance. I expected satisfaction. What I felt was exhaustion. Vanessa leaving did not restore anything. The deepest betrayal had never been that Ethan wanted another woman. It was that he had looked at my trust, my mother's inheritance, and the roof over our daughter's head and seen resources available for extraction. He had treated my faith in him as financial access. That was harder to forgive than the kiss. Lily moved carefully between us. I refused to make her carry messages. I refused to ask what Ethan told her. When she cried, I let her cry without making her comfort me. One evening, while we folded laundry together, she said Dad keeps saying he made one terrible mistake. I matched 2 socks and placed them in the basket. What do you think? I think an affair is one thing. She swallowed. The papers weren't one thing. Number. He planned it. Yes. She looked down. I still love him. You're allowed to. Are you? The question caught me. I don't know what form that love has now. She nodded slowly. That answer seemed to give her more peace than certainty would have. Spring arrived while the separation was still being negotiated. Lily graduated in June. The ceremony took place on the football field beneath a white sky heavy with heat. Families filled metal bleachers, fanning themselves with programs. Ethan sat several rows away. When Lily's name was called, we both stood. He clapped. I clapped. For that moment, neither of us made her accomplishment belong to our conflict. Afterward, she posed for photographs between us. Ethan kept one hand at his side. I held her flowers. We smiled because she deserved one photograph that did not look broken. Then we left separately. I returned to design work full-time by late summer. My first major project was a historic bungalow with sloping floors and water damage. The owner apologized for the condition. I told her old structures can hold more than people expect. You just have to know what is load-bearing. The sentence stayed with me. At home, I renovated the bedroom. Not for resale, not for Ethan, for myself. I painted the walls a soft, warm gray, replaced the heavy curtains, and moved the bed beneath the opposite window. I removed the digital clock. For months, I had avoided looking at it after dark. One night in October, I woke and reached automatically for my phone. 2:13 a.m. The room was quiet. Rain tapped lightly against the glass. My hands were still. I lay there listening to my own breathing and realized the bedroom no longer belonged to the moment I had heard him whisper. It belonged to me again. The next morning, Ethan sent a message. I kept thinking you would sign because you always trusted me. I read it at the kitchen table while sunlight moved across the wood. Then I answered, I trusted you. That was never permission. He did not reply. Our final settlement was signed 2 weeks later. Ethan remained responsible for his business debts and received credit for certain marital contributions. I retained the house. The investment transfer was offset in my favor. Lily's education fund remained untouched. There was no victory music, no applause, only Megan sliding the final document toward me and saying, "Take your time." I read every page. Then I signed. Months later, Lily and I sat at the kitchen table eating pancakes on a Saturday morning. College brochures were gone. In their place lay my first independent design contract under my own company name. I picked up a pen. Lily smiled. Big project. Big enough. I signed at the bottom. At 2:13 that morning, I had thought the shaking in my hands meant I was weak. It did not. It meant my body understood the danger before my heart was ready to admit it. Ethan had waited for my signature because he believed I would disappear inside my trust for him. I never signed his papers. I signed my own name beneath a life that finally belonged to me. If you have ever learned that trust and surrender are not the same thing, share what helped you recognize the difference. And if this story reminded you that protecting yourself is not revenge, but responsibility, subscribe for more stories about women who choose truth without losing their dignity.